What scares me the most?
And when we signed the final papers,
What a journey.
I was saying it's interesting to sign an employee contract after 11 years of not being an employee, right?
Honestly, I'm a bit lost for words.
There are so many similarities between running a business and running an ultramarathon. There are many variables that can go right and that can go wrong, and that often will. 1 minute you're running along and you feel absolutely fantastic. 15 minutes later, you're on your knees thinking, I can't do another kilometer, but I've got another 100 to go. How are you figuring that out? So mentally, how are you coping with the variables that are changing at such a rapid pace? And the same thing with business. You win a contract, you're up, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call, someone else has cancelled, you're down. One of the things with ultramarathons is it artificially creates harsh environments that you have to figure out emotionally how to regulate through them, which is exactly the scenario that then happens in a business that you don't have control of.
Yeah, I've never really run a half marathon or any kind of marathon before. In some ways, it just can't compare because you have to lock in so bad when you're running, especially if you want to do a good time. And I really tried to push myself and get the best time possible.
Just crossed 4 miles. We're about to hit Jed and Shauna's station. Let's see if we can find them.
But on the other hand, that lock-in moment, I think is what relates to like being on set.
Looks like we missed them. We'll catch the next guys.
It's the same like when you're on stage acting. Once you get on that stage, there's no going back. So working on the hero video for Bridge to Bridge was super exciting. I mean, first of all, it's a run that's only in its second year and we've already seen the potential for it to grow exponentially. So from the get-go, talking to the client and obviously having like meetings with them and going over the creative and making adjustments, it was pretty smooth, and most of what they said we were all aligned with, and I liked a lot of their ideas, and I think they liked a lot of what we brought to the table and all the creativity and the different kinds of shots and effects that we wanted to use. I mean, even part of the client is also Tom, who's our CEO. I mean, he's one of the co-founders of the race as well. And he's very into running and marathons and everything. So I tried to really put my mind in a runner, because I know that all the people who are client side are runners and active people who are into fitness themselves.
One more, Gunny! Gunny!
Cut! Yeah. There was a lot of running. A lot. And I mean, I've only heard this. Apparently there's footage of me saying my favorite sentence on set.
One more? One more. One more. No, it's fine, but let's do one more. Got one more?
The easiest way to tell someone that wasn't good enough is just go like, that was great. Let's do one more.
So I'm sat in a small hotel room in Westminster in central London. I just got back in from dinner and have an email with a contract. First piece of paper that I'm going to sign to sell this company to Stagwell.
Agency of the year again for the third time in a row.
It's a pretty surreal experience after 15 years of, yeah, God, so many challenges, so many crazy moments to think back on, so much risk, so many times that I just didn't think it was going to work out, and a couple of times, especially around COVID period, I didn't think we were even going to make it. So
but I am very excited to announce that the creator's been acquired. We have been acquired by Stagwell Global.
Yeah, after 15 years to actually get to this point of signing a piece of paper to sell the agency is, yeah, it means a lot. It means a lot. Yeah, it'll be a defining moment, I think. Who knows what happens from here, but yeah, it's pretty special.
Okay, so it's a question that is brand related. So Dia mentioned that our brand identity would remain the same, but does that mean also we get to keep
You mentioned non-negotiables.
Yeah.
So what were some of those non-negotiables, and how did you ensure, in fact, that Create's DNA stays the same?
The one thing that I've been hyper-focused on since the beginning of Create is trying to build the community in the right way. You've been here long enough to know that we make decisions based on that primarily, and everything else is secondary to that. There's lots of companies that we spoke to and entities that we spoke to that on paper certainly looked very interesting, interesting clients, interesting structure, but didn't have the same DNA as us, didn't have the same way of doing business as we do.
Look, I think for us, it was very clear from early on that culture is really important, right? So while we were speaking to many interested companies and networks and other teams, for me personally, and I'm sure for the rest of the guys, we were of course looking at capability and what they would add to the team that we've got. But one key thing that we're looking for is the way that their humanness, like the way that they actually came across from a cultural perspective.
It's our people, right? This agency was built in the region for the region by people who have moved here and have got a ton of different perspectives. We will keep that.
Was there a moment during the process of this acquisition that made you think, oh wow, we're really doing this?
Good question. We went to Cannes, to Sport Beach, to meet the Code and Theory team. And it's funny because to us, that was one of the biggest moments of our lives, right? There's a ton of responsibility that we have for the agency, for the team. And we went and met them, and it was so natural, and they were so welcoming, and it just instantly felt like, oh, this might be the team that we want to work with.
When I met with the Code and Theory team, I could see immediately that they're doing things because they want to create great work. They've got a great culture. It almost felt like a big group of friends that just want to really do some cool shit.
What I love about Dan and leadership is they're creative. The way that they're running the company, it's not just a purely, suits, I would say, but they've got that sort of creative thinking, creative flair. And with that, the match is super easy. We're able to communicate and to jam on ideas and dream about solutions that we feel are going to be valuable for us as a company and also our partners and clients.
Because they were all part of it, right? We're all part of the narrative of building the company too. We don't need to film everything, right?
Looking forward in a few minutes to being on the radio, talking to the nation on the Dubai Eye Business Breakfast, talking about the deal. I'm sure there's some questions I'll ask that I won't be able to answer, but it's an amazing opportunity for us to be able to tell our story, to tell the market as to why we've done this deal, what it means to our clients, what it means to our team, and what it means to hopefully some potential clients that might be listening. So let's see what happens next.
Tom is the founder and the CEO of Create Group, joins us now live in studio. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me today.
It's great to have you.
We're currently in one major pitch that if it wasn't for the expertise that the network has, there was no way that we could have even pitched for it. So there's a live pitch going on right now that because of the network, we're able to be in the room.
Already we're working on a global brief with the Code and Theory team, with multiple agencies from Stagwell across the UK, the US and China. That's the type of brief we just would not have been involved in any way, shape or form as an agency 6 months ago.
The other one is from a creative platform, like we're able to now expand our thinking and imagination to include other brains. So instead of us having a brainstorm set in the room in Dubai, now we actually can dial into people in New York and to people in other countries and go, what do you guys think? And that is amazing for us, right? So being able to expand our thinking into that other territories is invaluable.
In the supermarket, it tastes just okay, let's start with talking about the Young Lions competition. So this comes around like every year annually, and you have 24 hours to crack a creative brief that's usually given by like a non-profit. Because like this is the one opportunity where like we're not shackled by a budget, we're not shackled by client expectations, so you can go as wild as you want. But at the same time, you also want to come up with something that no one else comes up with, which is hard because there were like 90 people in that call.
Us competing in Young Lions, which is a global competition, right? It's really interesting to see how we're stacking up against our other young competitors in the market, but also on a global stage. One of the reasons that I wanted us to be involved and having teams competing in Young Lions is because this really aligns with our goal at Create, to uplift our talent, to cross over different departments and just develop their creative skills and their chops.
No, he just called me saying, yeah, you guys got shortlisted. So we have to go in tomorrow and present.
But are you stuck in the top 5?
Yeah, the top 5.
That's so cool! You did it!
But he's like, what's your team number? He's like, okay, congratulations, you guys have been shortlisted. And I was just fully silent for like 10 seconds. And then he's like, hey, okay, are you there? And I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you so much. And I asked him a bunch of questions, which is just around logistics. And he said, you guys have to come in and present tomorrow to like the jury of 16 judges.
What did that achievement of getting shortlisted mean for you personally?
That I don't suck is the first thought off the top of my mind.
Was there ever a doubt?
Yeah, there's always that doubt. There's always that doubt, I think, when you're working in this industry, right?
And there's obviously so many questions like, am I good enough? I wasn't creative enough? Did I work hard enough? If I put in an extra hour of, no sleep or whatever, or if I just like worked even harder or didn't have dinner break or whatever, like all these questions rush into your head.
What advice would you give to young creatives thinking about entering next year?
Yeah, if I have to whittle it down, like have a support system around you. Because I was messaging people throughout the day. Guys, I don't know if I can do this. I send them voice notes and they're like, are you okay? Pull it together.
Just have fun with it, honestly. Just have fun, be crazy, and just do the craziest shit you can.
We are here in the cinema, getting ready for tomorrow's first Create Forward show ever. First time actually we bring everybody together to kind of explain a new positioning, a new way forward. But first, a lot of technicalities to get through, so let's get this done.
Firstly, welcome to Create Forward. Can I have a round of applause for that?
Create Forward was a major moment because it marked our new direction in this new era and this new creative point of view. So what were you trying to say with that event?
As an agency, as we kind of, grew up from a startup to the phase that we're in right now, it's almost like going through adolescence in a way, right? Like getting to know ourselves, understanding what is our edge in the market and what do we offer that's unique and that's different.
It's really important to kind of highlight that it is about the more meaningful connections that we want to build between brands.
And I think with Create Forward, what we wanted to present to the team was, if there is one thing that we add value to this industry and to our clients, what is it? And it lies in the relationship between the audience and the brands that we work with. It's what type of relationship do you have with your customer base or with the audience that you're trying to speak to. And we figured out that the most meaningful relationship is creating advocates and creating fans. So for us, arriving to, we want to be an agency that creates fans for our clients is the gist of Create Forward, basically.
So what do you see in the future that is a potential good outcome that excites you, and what scares you?
Good question. I think, look, what excites me the most is the amount of impact that we can create internally within our community and to be able to give an opportunity for our teams to have an experience that otherwise wouldn't have been possible.
So to now expand the pool of people that our team can engage with, that can only be a positive thing. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years we'll have had teams from the UAE moving across to another Stagwell network agency and it's spurred their career growth.
Give them the opportunity to be part of something bigger. I think that's really important. But also to look back at this phase of my life and our journey in this story and be proud of that phase. And look back and think that we didn't compromise.
And what scares you?
What scares me the most?
Listen, with any acquisition comes new ambition, right? So, of course, we have commitments for revenue and EBITDA. That's fine. Honestly, it doesn't scare me, and it really doesn't.
I think being complacent, being in a place that, being in a comfort zone space, which is not something I'd ever want to be in. That's something that I think actively, I personally try to find myself and push myself away from any comfort zones.
But I've been tinkering around with building AI
You've poured a lot of yourself into building this business over the last 15 years. So signing those papers must have felt like the end of something, but also the beginning of something. But that moment definitely had emotional weight. So take me back to that moment and what that felt like for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's yeah, gosh, so many mixed emotions when you talk about that. And I was sat at home at my parents' house in Wales on Christmas Eve on the 23rd of December.
And just like that, a DocuSign link is clicked. The deal is done. What a wild experience. I'm so blessed to have my family here. But just thinking about everybody back at the agency, the team, you know, the impact, the growth, the change, the opportunity for everybody. It's a pretty incredible feeling to be able to take this next step.
I was saying it's interesting to sign an employee contract after 11 years or even more probably of not being an employee, right? So, look, I think it's the right thing to do for all of us as a community, right? So, there was a sense of relief that we felt it was with the right team members, and I think if it wasn't like that, there would be more anxiousness around it.
And when we signed the final papers, I took just 5 minutes to note how I felt in that moment.
Yeah, you don't have to
you
read
can ask me.
Do you want to read a passage from it? I mean,
Yeah.
anything that you feel comfortable with?
There we go. So a couple of the key takeaways were, firstly, that it was a time to be thankful. Thankful for, it's really an achievement of the people around us rather than a personal achievement. It's an achievement of, and this is for everyone, right? But it's for parents, friends, coaches, mentors. That's the achievement. And that's what I'm thankful for.
What a journey. Honestly, I'm a bit lost for words. But I need to sleep. It's been a few days, 3 days now. We were supposed to sign, then the next day, then that night, then the next day. Obviously, we're dealing with America, right? So America, I'm in the UK now, is 5 hours behind. So most stuff's been happening in the evening. Not ideal when you're supposed to be home for Christmas for a few days, but hey ho. It is Christmas Eve. We have a deal, a beautiful end to the year. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. Thanks for watching this. I hope you get some value from it. I'll probably think of something more useful overnight, and we'll chat in the morning.
We out here in the cinema. What's happening? You alright, okay? Alright, okay? Why are you ruining my shot?